So we are now live. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes so that people can join us, and then we will officially begin.
अब मेरी आवाज साफ आ रही है? Yeah, we can
जी
start.
बिल्कुल आ रही है. Perfect. Till then, I can just share कि अगर if you guys have any questions, so there's a Q&A box. Please उसमें just type your questions, and then we can take those questions towards the end of the session. या अगर बीच में हमें कोई if like there's a question that's related to what we're discussing, तो वहाँ अगर हम उसको ले सके, तो we can use that. In case if you want to ask a question directly to our guest, you can just click raise hand, and then I can unmute you, and you can ask it to our guest live during towards the end of the session. Otherwise, आपका जो भी सवाल है, so please type that in the Q&A box. I think हम शुरू कर लेते हैं officially. बाकी everyone who joins in can just pick up from wherever we are. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, especially क्योंकि हमें थोड़ा सा reschedule करना पड़ा था because of some unforeseen circumstances. But I'm really grateful that you all could join us here again. And I hope आप सबका पहला रोजा बड़ा अच्छा जा रहा होगा. And this conversation will sort of keep you energized for the rest of your day. Just an introduction, I'm Amna, and I'm part of the management team at Kamayi. For those of you who are new and don't know what Kamayi is, so Kamayi is a recruitment startup that's helping SMEs, that's making SME hiring in Pakistan faster, easier, and reliable. और ये जो हमारा career conversation का series हमने recently launched किया है, इसका main purpose यही था कि we wanted to sort of facilitate dialogue and discussion around everything related to one's professional career, क्योंकि हम जब भी whatever point of our professional career we are in, कोई ना कोई सवाल होते हैं सबके, and we're trying to build a community where people if who have questions they can answer them, and then there's lots of people who have answers and lots of experience who can sort of help guide you through things जो भी आपकी problems आते हैं. So जो आज का हमारा topic है, that's related to how the HR landscape over the years has it changed, and how are leaders sort of equipping themselves to navigate it, या वो कर भी रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे. And I'm really excited for you all to meet our guest today, जो HR की field में knowledge और wisdom का बहुत बड़ा ज़खीरा है. And every time that you have a conversation with him, I guarantee you will leave with a lot of learning. So thank you so much, Kanwer, for joining us today. Um, just to give a little background to Kanwer. So Kanwer is the CEO of Ascend Consulting, and he has more than 2 decades of experience in managing the HR function of जो हम सबकी ड्रीम कंपनीज होती हैं, Engro Foods, Engro Fertilizers, Unilever, in both Pakistan and outside of Pakistan. And I can like give you a whole list of his accomplishments and achievements and experiences, but I think everyone is here to sort of hear more from Kanwer and very little from me. So I will hand it over to Kanwer. Thank you again so much for joining us. And it would be really nice if you could sort of start by sharing a little bit about yourself, your journey in HR, आपने कहाँ से शुरू किया, then going like heading HR functions for big corporations, and then eventually to self-employment. So that's where we start. Over to you.
Thank you, Amna, and Assalamu alaikum, everybody. सबसे पहले तो I think you have started with a lot of burden on me. That that wisdom, achievement, accomplishment, and if you ask me, uh, been there, seen it, done lots of things. But if you ask me, standing at this point in time in my life, I look back and I say, and then I look forward and I say, how little I know. And I look at you, Amna, and young people around this world, and I get amazed at how different this world is. And then these young people know much more than me. And then when I say it, I'm saying it with all the humility, and I'm not saying it because it's customary to say, "Oh, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया." And I really want to say that. Mm, yes, I have an experience of 20 plus years. Yes, I have experience of working with some of the very good companies and great companies, and then played my little role in their success. They played bigger role in my success, in quote unquote, in a very
Hmm.
corporate way. Uh, but then when I meet young people, I often tell them, and then I don't know whether how many young people out there, but I am expecting more young people than elder people, that my experience has told me or taught me what not to do. So that's the
Hmm.
experience. But what to be done in what has to be done in future is what I'm going to learn from all of you. So I just wanted to let go of that pressure on my head of all the you did. So, but let's start. How did I start, and how did I get into HR?
Yeah.
So somehow, when I walked into my first university, and I was known for being somebody who's more people's person and empathetic person. And just because of I had more empathy and I have ways with people, people started calling me that you are a HR man and then you're a people's person and you would go into HR. Though at that point in time, and then I'm talking of now, this is 94 and 93, 94. And at that point in time, HR was not the career of choice. And I remember
Hmm.
one first interview going there, big company in Pakistan, one of the leading MD of that time, who was a general interviewing. And he said, "What do you want to do in life?" I said, "I want to do HR." But he said, "This is a sales job." And I
Hmm.
said, "I want to get into HR." And he realized, young बच्चा है जज्बाती हो रहा है इतनी बड़ी कंपनी में जॉब
Uh,
उन्होंने कहा साइड पे बैठ जाओ एंड में बता रहा एंड आई वॉक बैक एंड आई सेड मैं कह तो मुझे सेल्स करनी है few months down the line I said नहीं मुझे ये नहीं करनी है नौकरी की
Achha, so
तलाश
your first job was a sales job.
absolutely sales job and I realized
Achha,
I'm
that's
this
interesting.
is not what I want to do right and
Hmm.
then हमने नौकरी छोड़ दी and after a few months and then why I'm talking about this that it's all right to make mistakes ठीक है and then हम नौकरी छोड़ दी and then look forward to अच्छा अब क्या मिले तो there was bank was deregulation time था bank management training scheme was happening applied there got into the bank and started banking career after the training and within
Achha.
a month I said again I don't want to do that what I was seeking was HR. And a month
Hmm.
down my, or a couple of months into my banking role, the head of HR of the bank invited me and said, "Do you want to join HR?" And that's how it's all started.
Hmm.
And then throughout, I was very clear I want to do HR. And then in between, I went to a business school. I started an early part of my 3 years with the banking, HR. But and then I went and did my business school, and then I did it from Blums. And as I walked out, and I decided I'm going to back into HR. And I was
Hmm.
very somehow there was love,
Hmm.
passion, and then also I realized that कि यार अब मार्केट के अंदर तो अपॉर्चुनिटीज बहुत हैं तो हम
Uh,
ये तो दश्त के अंदर जो है अक्सर एक्स आर्मी ऑफिसर्स हैं पर्सनल से आए
hmm.
हुए लोग तो आप छा जाएंगे या तो अब उस वक्त इतना ज्यादा नहीं सोचते तो आप ये दैट्स हाउ आई
Uh,
स्टार्टेड एंड आई जॉइंड यूनिलीवर and by choice I wanted to start my career from the tougher side employee relations
hmm.
not people because I've done banking, talent development, I've done recruitment, and I said that if I want to grow and lead a HR in a large organization which also has industrial setup, I must do industrial relations. And I started
Hmm.
with my career at a plant, and then I must say that was the most exciting time I had, and then that led me to have a few fast growth as well, but also a lot of exposure with labor,
Hmm.
CBA, and then managing stakeholders. That
Hmm.
was training which helped me grow in terms of managing multiple stakeholders and have and also by becoming very patient, and then that's how I
Hmm.
moved. And from there, there was a role in outside Pakistan, came back, and then joined Engro, and then again a bright spot, and loved time at Unilever's, because Unilever has made me a person I am. And then the test came, leading or setting up an HR at Engro Foods. And then that's where I would say the heart of the work was to create systems and culture at the same time. And then
And when you joined Engro Foods, ये उस वक्त अभी नया they were sort
it
of
was
building.
very start. I was joined. It has already started about a year earlier or 1.5 years earlier.
अच्छा.
I joined the team and then became part of the founding team. And then so we
Hmm.
take pride in that time and creating that organization. And the heart of that role over there was, and then I'm talking about, thoda sa detail me, that creating processes while creating culture and attracting people at the same time. So employer
Hmm.
brand had to be created on the go, culture, because people came from such powerful organizations like Pepsi's, Cokes, Unilevers of this world, and P&Gs of this world, and British American Tobacco or Pakistan Tobacco, and then at that point in time, and Engro Foods was new. Not
Yeah.
many people. And
Hmm.
first foray of Engro into FMCG. So all
और वो
th-
बहुत intimidating भी होता है कि this is new and all of these people they're coming from such a renowned organizations, तो वो आपके ऊपर एक pressure भी build होता है कि I have to give them that environment that they've come from, or like a better environment that they've come from.
आमना,
So did you feel that?
तुम्हारा इस तरह का एक्सपीरियंस है, मुझे लगता है तुम्हारा, because what you're talking about is exactly what happened, because everybody came, हमारे यहाँ तो ये होता है. So there was pressure from every stakeholder inside the organization to bring the
Hmm.
best of the policies across so many organizations, right? And then, but you can't do all that because you're early part of the organization, and you
Hmm.
have to and then मुझे अभी भी याद है कि we started a program which कहते हैं सुबह खैर जिंदगी, right? So that was the logo, or that logo to me, that was a marketing slogan at that point in time, and said सुबह खैर जिंदगी, so let's start new and create our own culture, and that made the difference. Then it was the start of its own culture. And then while doing that, that employer brand, who we are, who we are, who we are. And I remember working very hard to become employer of choice or best place to work among the local organizations in the startup. And that was the effort. The moment we got it, what did we do? We brought from CEO to our foreign workers, to the young girls, to the workers from the plant and the union leaders, got their photograph and put on the social, not social media at that point in time, was not as active as now.
Hmm.
On the, I remember Dawn first page, best place to work. So creating that brand, going to the universities,
Hmm.
talking to people. So that's what we did, and then came the time of Engro Fertilizer, and that was a training,
Hmm.
working with a very process organization, and lot of learning over there. And but then I had another calling, right? And what was that calling? And मैं थोड़ा सा उसके बारे में बात कर लेता हूँ कि शुरू
Yes.
से when I walked out of business school, and it is important that I talk about to young people that when you make a choice of a career, you also know that ये कहाँ लेके जाएगा, because
Hmm.
life may, when you start with the end in mind, it is the journey becomes beautiful and very focused. So I knew my choice of HR will lead me to a point where there will be glass ceiling. And I was a bit ambitious, right? So I
Hmm.
decided at a certain point in time, and I put years, and after certain experience, I will leave when a kind of a मैं curve के top पे होऊंगा, and I
Right.
leave and I'll start a new curve. And the new curve is where the startup Ascent Consulting came in, and then the Jolia project came in. Then our investment into Kamayi came in, and then all these things are trying and then reinventing ourselves, because I
Hmm.
knew if I'll continue playing, became because now careers are different.
Yes.
Now it's even totally different. At that point in time, we became HR leader a bit earlier. As somebody said, no sound. Is it so? Can you hear me,
I
sir?
can hear you.
You can hear. That's fine. I
Yeah,
should.
yeah.
Okay. So, okay, lovely. So, when you start with very clear and end in mind, then it's you're very focused. So at that point in time, becoming HR at an earlier age, that would have meant that remaining and playing in the foray of HR, of a catch up my head of HR for a bigger organization, and I didn't want to do that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It didn't fit my plan, right?
Hmm.
So it didn't fit my plan of who I want to take my life forward. So I had already planned up that at a certain point in time, before I touch 45, after becoming head of HR for a couple of times, I leave, and that's what I did, and started Ascend Consulting, and for last almost 6 years now, we are doing this work, and I talking about Ascent Consulting will require another or the Jolia
Yeah.
project
Yes.
program. So that's where we are, and that's where how I am here, and so make loves keh deta
Thank you
hu.
for, yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
please go ahead.
go ahead.
नहीं नहीं,
I'm
I was just going to say thank you for sharing such a lot of details. मेरे सिर्फ एक supplementary question that just came up कि you said you had a lot of clarity from the start that you wanted to pursue a career in HR, and I think having that clarity is such a big blessing, because lots of times when you're younger you want to experiment and you don't know where you want to go, right? So so for those people who don't have that sort of clarity, so usme, is it all right if you try out different functions in the initial few years and then eventually you find out, right, that's my calling and that's what I want to do? Because mistakes you've mentioned, go ahead and make mistakes. Sales ka aapne join kiya and you said, oh, okay, no, I don't like it, I'll shift. So I get that it's all right to make mistakes, but you always had that clarity. And even if I talk about myself personally, I don't think that when I was at university, I had that sort of clarity that where is it that I want to go in the future.
okay. जो हाइंडसाइट में आपकी नज़र 6/6 होती है, ठीक है? So it may sound very कि जी I was very clear. Yes, I was very clear that I'll get
Right.
into it. And the reason was that I thought that I have those strengths to connect with people.
Hmm.
And then at that point in time, I thought HR, and I believed, and then that was my philosophy. It's all about serving humanity. And somehow I thought HR के जरिए मैं कर सकूंगा. तो you later
Hmm.
realize नहीं भाई और बहुत कुछ भी करना पड़ता है.
Hmm.
And so हम लोगों को serve कर सकूंगा. And that service thingy and लोगों से connection was important, and that's why I wanted
Hmm.
to do. But let me tell you, when I meet younger people and they are not very clear, I'm absolutely fine. And I request if there's any HR person who's becoming an HR person, please be patient, because most of the people will not have the clarity. What
Hmm.
I would urge upon younger people, or those people, that even if you don't know where to go is perfectly fine. What you should start to ask yourself, मेरी strengths क्या हैं? हैविंग
Exactly. Yes.
मेरी वीकनेस क्या है, मेरा वैल्यू सिस्टम क्या है, व्हाट
Hmm.
काइंड ऑफ, मतलब अगर आपको अपने वैल्यू सिस्टम की क्लैरिटी हो जाएगी, अपनी स्ट्रेंथ्स एंड वीकनेसेस, एंड वीकनेस का लफ्ज बहुत टफ वर्ड है, बट आई एम सेइंग इज के नो योरसेल्फ, हैविंग अ बेटर सेल्फ अवेयरनेस, that I'm
Yes.
that kind of person, that reflection, if you
Hmm.
have these things. And then I often ask young people this question. And then one of my respected teacher at LAMS, बहुत बाद में मैंने कहा कि मैं यंग लोगों से सवाल करता हूँ, कहते भाई ये सवाल तो बड़े बड़ों को नहीं पता होता, तुम क्यों पूछते हो? But then I want them to think, and let me put that question: what is the legacy you want to leave behind?
Hmm.
And if you are clear about these things, rasta ban jayega, and then you will, as you get more knowledge, you'll know, you'll find out.
Hmm.
While doing that, you'll have to take a decision. You can't be a rolling stone all your life. You'll have to give a place certain, or a choice enough time to know that whether I should do it all my life or I should move on. Yeah.
So कोई ना कोई end goal आपके जहन में हमेशा होना चाहिए. That's the thing that I'm somehow working towards.
एब्सोल्युटली, कोई एंड गोल होना चाहिए, और एंड गोल की क्लैरिटी डे वन में नहीं होगी।
हाँ बिल्कुल, वो इवेंचुअली आपके पास आए और उसको पहुंचने का रास्ता भी इवेंचुअली बनता जाएगा.
वो ठीक होगा, बट व्हाट्स इंपॉर्टेंट इज टू नॉट गेट बॉग्ड डाउन अबाउट
Hmm.
just smaller things, and effectively waking up in the morning, taking a deep breath, and asking yourself, yes, I'm going to office. I'm going to brush my teeth, change my clothes, get into my car, bike, bus, pedal, and go to my place of work, or for the search of place of work. That's perfectly fine. But knowing ultimately where is this, why I'm doing this.
Hmm. और आप
That
जब भी ऑफिस जा रहे हैं तो आई डोंट थिंक कि इट शुड बी जस्ट लाइक कि ओ बस मैंने सूट टाई लगाना है या ऑफिस जाना है. यू शुड गो विद द सॉर्ट ऑफ एम इन योर हेड कि मैंने जाना है, मैंने कोई ना कोई चीज नई जरूर सीखनी है, कोई ना कोई अपने आप को स्किल ऐड करना है, समथिंग दैट इज जस्ट हेल्पिंग मी ग्रो, इवन इफ आई डोंट नो कि मैंने एग्जैक्टली क्या करना है, बट आई एम स्टिल एडिंग स्किल्स टू माई सेल्फ दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ हेल्पिंग मी ग्रो in as a person as well in my profession. Because at some point जो भी आप skill कभी भी acquire करेंगे, वो किसी भी पॉइंट पे ऐसा नहीं होगा कि वो यूजलेस हो जाएगा, वो कहीं ना कहीं आपके काम डेफिनेटली आएगा.
so I'm
आई
not
होप.
you did such a interesting thing, कि ये लर्निंग वाली थिंग, रीस्किलिंग, और आजकल अगर आप कोई भी एचआर की रिसर्च और दुनिया देखें, और कोई भी मॉडर्न एचआर का बंदा बैठा बात कर रहा होगा, तो वो अपने आप को रीस्किल करने की बात कर रहा होगा, अपने आप अपस्किल करने की बात कर रहा है. दैट्स व्हाट यू सेड. देखिए, a lot of us, our parents lived in a totally a different time, right?
यस.
The biggest invention they had probably was at that point in time, घर में बिजली आ जाएगी, पंखा लग गया, बिजली तो देखी भी नहीं थी, ठीक है? And so उस दौर के बजाय हमारे दौर के अंदर जो ट्रांस चीजें बदल रही थी, बड़ा टाइम लग रहा था, ठीक है? रिलेटिवली जो आई वुड से बेबी बूमर्स के बाद जनरेशन एक्स आई, तो उनके दौर के अंदर तो चीजें फिर भी फास्टर हो रही थी, मगर इतनी फास्ट नहीं थी. तो जेन जी वाले हैं, वो तो पैदा ही एवरी डे.
हाँ, वो they've grown up on technology. वो तो चाहते हैं
एब्सोल्युटली.
बस अभी अभी हर चीज हो.
अब अगर टेक्नोलॉजी किस तरह बनती है वो भी इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं रहा. अब तब तो है कि भाई इसको इस्तेमाल किस तरह करना है, डेटा कहाँ से आएगा,
हाँ.
वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. सो व्हाट यू आर सेइंग इज सो राइट. And then I don't know whether there will be somebody of my age, or people who are more senior. So I find some of the skills मेरे लिए मुश्किल है, because we were not groomed into learning those skills. The basics नहीं है. So what I've done is getting to know people like Amna, people like younger people, and surround yourself in my organization. Most of the people are in early 20s, and that's where I learn. So जो जो हमारी उम्र के लोगों को, उनको यहाँ से सीखना है,
हाँ.
और जो लोगों को है उनको तो हर वक्त सीखना है और रीस्किल करना है अपने आप को रोज जाके. So lovely, Amna, great point, and thank
So
you.
the one thing that is common between people your age and people our age, willingness to learn हर जगह abundance में होनी चाहिए.
uh, अगर हम ये नहीं करेंगे तो हम खत्म हो
Hmm.
जाएंगे.
Hmm.
Simple. As a human race, if we don't learn and we don't evolve, and it's nothing serious, nothing different. अगर आप देखें कि आप हिस्ट्री देख लें, एंड इफ अगर आप सैकड़ों साल देख लें, हजारों साल देख लें, तो जनरेशन सिविलाइजेशन दैट डोंट कीप अप विद द पेस ऑफ टाइम्स, और वो अपने आप को नहीं सिखा पाते और रिस्किल कर पाते, वो खत्म हो जाते
Hmm.
हैं. इसी तरह हम ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस भी हैं और इंडिविजुअल्स भी हैं, एंड इट्स इम्पॉर्टेंट टू कीप डूइंग दैट कंटिन्यूसली. सो
Hmm.
लव.
So, moving on to the next question. So, आपने explain कर दिया है कि over the years, because of technology, because of the sort of people that are coming into the workforce, HR and organizations and the way we work generally, all of it has changed. So, one और उसमें आपने you've mentioned कि हर एक को upskill करना पड़ रहा है, and it's very important that people are learning newer things and how to keep up with technology and all the new developments. So, particularly in HR, one, how has over the last decade, because of technology, HR एक तो change कैसे हुआ है, and have HR leaders in Pakistan been able to keep pace with that development? कि यार ये जो हम सब changes और technology ये सब सुन रहे हैं, is it just in the Western world or companies? या companies here are learning to adapt and leaders वो ये सब चीजें समझ रहे हैं और वो इसको implement करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं?
Uh, I have certain point of views. Let me first, uh, and then I'm not. But forgive me if I have very strong point of views. So
No, no,
one of the,
absolutely no.
so क्या, पहली तो बात ये कि जो दुनिया में हो रहा है और क्या एचआर पाकिस्तान में बदल रहा है, बिल्कुल. It is
Hmm.
changing. It has to, because there's no choice, right? So the problem is that organizations, even if they don't want to, they will have to change, right? And it is the environment which is pushing them, and those organizations which are not will have to do that. There's an interesting thing I'll tell you. One of the leading organizations, and invited us to, so one of some of the consulting organization to talk about the trends. And one of the reasons they want to see कि the talent attraction trend में क्या हम किस तरह से younger लोगों को attract कर सकते हैं, because their biggest competition out there is
Hmm.
these people are think differently. They want to have career in startups. They think gig. They think यार यहाँ it's all right. We are sitting here, but we are working for an organization which works somewhere in the head office in
San
Canada,
Francisco.
and which
Hmm.
works for across the world, and I'm working over there. In earlier times, I would have said कुछ नहीं करता, ठीक है?
Hmm.
भाई और कुछ नहीं करता, बातें कर रहा है, कुछ
कुछ
नहीं
नहीं
करता.
करता.
आज हम कह
हाँ,
रहे हैं
बस
कि ये,
कंप्यूटर पे बैठा रहते पता नहीं क्या करता है.
वो कह रहा है कि मैं किसी बैंक में नहीं जाऊंगा, ये करूंगा या करूंगी, ठीक है? So that's the change. So organizations, HR and organizations are forced to change. So
Hmm.
has it evolved? Yes, it is evolving. Is the speed of evolution and growth as fast as it should be? I'll say no. And
Hmm.
then I'll be a bit ruthless about here. अगर हम सब की एवोल्यूशन ग्रोथ उतनी स्ट्रांग होती, देन हम 2% 2.5% जीडीपी से ग्रोथ ना कर रहे होते, तो इंडस्ट्री की ग्रोथ मच फास्टर होती. सो ये गेटिंग माय पॉइंट. सो वी आर
Hmm.
मच. Now, as far as HR is concerned, some of the things which I think is happening across the world, the HR as in which I joined in, right, or HR which even people before me is not in the organization. So HR somehow people think is an HR function in the organization. And this is such a sad and primitive thought,
Hmm.
because now your HR, Amna, you are running an organization which does a recruitment. And there's Lots of people. There are people who are doing your payroll. There are people who will who are doing the trainings. Earlier, सबसे पहले क्या था, अपना एक ट्रेनिंग सेंटर होता था, राइट, अपने ट्रेनर्स होते थे, पहले स्टेज पे वो बाहर चला गया, देन सीनियर एग्जीक्यूटिव सर्च, उन्होंने कहा यार ये हमारा एचआर मैनेजर तो बहुत कॉन्फिडेंशियल काम है, कांट डू इट, सो द इट स्टार्टेड टू हैपन एंड the senior executive search went out and that became 10, then the executive search went out, and then payroll went out, trainings went out. So effectively, most of the HR functions, which we think was part of HR, and some of the organizations, or let me use the word, most of the organizations are still holding on to, will have to be, will be passed on to people who do it day in, day out.
Hmm.
You're getting
Absolutely.
my point? And they're
वो
expert.
just better at it क्योंकि उनकी expertise वो है.
उनकी एक्सपर्टीज है, अब मैं कुछ भी कर लें उनसे मुकाबला नहीं कर सकते, राइट,
Hmm.
आप यू कैन हायर Kanwer A Saeed to run a talent management function, और कंवर जान मार लेगा, अब टामक टूइयां करेगा, but it will be, he'll be limited by his experience and his
Hmm.
जो उसकी exposure. Getting my point? So
Yeah.
that will. So what will do HR do then? So
Yeah.
HR, and let me go back why I joined HR, and I carried that belief, and I'm very happy. At times it was, at that point in time people did not like it. I believe, and I still strongly believe, organizations are there for the people. People are not there for the organizations. So effectively, that thing which is now, and it was amazing when BlackRock CEO, and then it was amazing about 4 years back, and I read it, and he talked about कि जो generation Z है, जो millennials हैं, they want to work in places which are purpose led, and
Hmm.
organizations have purpose. And I thought at that point in time, this Lawrence Fink ne jo kaha tha 4 years back, it he's doing it because he was trying to take care of the shareholders' voice. So he's managed shareholders' voice. And then I followed it. Every year it became stronger and stronger and stronger. Why? Because if we don't do that, the world we are living in is changing so fast that we have to create a different organizations, right?
Hmm.
And who is the most important person in the organization to drive this thought and create that transition in the heads? And I strongly believe that that philosophical thought process has to be, if not driven, but at least that discussion within the organization is generated by the head of HRs, right? Because
Hmm.
he is the right hand man of CEO. He has to talk about it. "जी, हम कर क्यों रहे हैं ये? Why are we doing it? हमें कैसा कल्चर चाहिए जिसके अंदर लोग ग्रो करें और इन्वायरमेंट का ख्याल रखें, इस दुनिया के अंदर हम जो इस हैं क्यों, हम इसकी
Hmm.
तबाही करने के लिए हैं या इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की एग्जिस्टेंस क्यों है? सो द विजन, so it is now becoming fashion, but that's, it's a good fashion to have that purpose led organization वाला perspective. ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कौन करेगा? HR.
Hmm.
HR का रोल जो है is evolving towards creating this discussion, creating the culture, creating, keeping an eye on the business directly, and that's what he needs to do. So आपने पूछा कि पाकिस्तान में क्या कुछ हो रहा है और क्या कुछ होना चाहिए. I think the transition is there. Some organizations जिनका footprint दुनिया में ज़्यादा है वो ज़्यादा बेहतर कर रही हैं, and then I have huge respect for organizations like Unilevers of this world, and my ex organizations, and then they are leading in that.
Hmm.
But
और उनको थोड़ा सा advantage ये भी है that they've got offices in different locations, they've got teams sitting in different locations, और उनका learning mechanism एक exist करता है. So someone जो team Singapore में है, the Pakistan team can learn from them, they can learn from the team in Pakistan. So like that exchange is strong.
absolutely, And I didn't want to say that, but yes, they have an
Hmm.
edge. All MNCs have an edge. And जब मैं एक not so MNC organization में गया, and I always thought कि उनका edge है. And
Hmm.
then we also said कि यार हमारा edge भी तो white space का है, हमारे पास भी तो खाली canvas है. And
Yeah.
that
And you have
knowledge,
so many resources at your disposal now. Given technology, you can reach out to anyone.
anyone, and you can do that. So ये कहना कि उनको एज है, उनका एज ये है कि कोई पुश कर रहा है वहां पे, ठीक है,
Hmm. Absolutely, yes.
डेफिनेटली
That's the difference.
है, बट हम वर्स ऑफ नहीं है रेस्ट ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. सो ऑन 1 to 10 आई से ग्लोबल ट्रांजिशंस के अंदर एचआर ने अपने आप को कितना तैयार किया है, मैं कहूँगा आई स्टिल आई से 5 out of 10. We are still not
Hmm.
ready to get rid of or let go of things which will go off, you like it or not. We will
Hmm.
not have personal cars 10 years के बाद. गाड़ी आएगी ले जाएगी, नहीं होंगी बहुत सी जगहों पे. पाकिस्तान में शायद 20 साल, but that's fine, नहीं होंगी.
But eventually, nahi hongi.
So yes, we need to do a lot. Lots of things happening. We are talking about the good things, but lot needs to be done.
So,
तो क्या
to
क्या कहने का मकसद क्या
summarize, huh,
है? हाँ, आपको आप समराइज करो. मैं एक जुमला कह लूँ, उसके बाद आप समराइज करना.
yeah, yeah.
देखो, that that challenge is an opportunity.
Hmm.
Okay? For people who are in HR at a young, not so senior place, or people sitting over there, okay, we do have to catch up a lot. When we have to catch up a lot, then any step is a step forward. You're getting my point. So that's an opportunity for young people and also people who are looking for career to make a career in HR. It's a great opportunity. आएंगे करेंगे
Hmm.
because आपको पता है आप आके बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं. So
Hmm.
आप कुछ कह.
So, what I wanted to like that just another question. Okay, all the functions जो आप जैसे like you mentioned जैसे recruitment है, there are experts out there जो आपको एक perfect candidate लाके दे देंगे. वो candidate आ गया है, उसको आपने इस्तेमाल कैसे करना है, उसको अपनी organization में retain कैसे करना है. How do you make that resource useful for you? That is the function that HR leaders should be focusing on. कि if this person is here, I need to make sure that my organization is providing him sufficient avenues for growth, या उसको मजा आ रहा है in the work that they're doing, and providing that culture that helps them thrive. और थोड़ा सा I'd like you to talk about जो initially culture होता था organizations में, like if you're working on the same team, especially corporates में, they used to encourage a lot of competition. So for example, I've made 4 sales, there's no way I'm going to let that person make 5 sales. तो वो एक competition आता था. And now that culture is moving more towards collaboration, that yes, he's made 5 sales, but that's my team member, and at all times I have to support my team. So वो ये नहीं होगा कि I'm just going to keep everything that's I know to me, but it's more of sharing and collaboration का एक थोड़ा सा माहौल. That's something that organizations are trying to build, and that's something that's taking over now. So if you could talk
So
a little about that.
बिल्कुल नहीं, no question about it. So the world is changing, and that's why organizations are also changing. So
Hmm.
वो जो पहले एक होता था कि एक macho man, dark, handsome, who shouts at everybody, and that मैं ये नहीं कह रहा सब खत्म हो गया है वो, because some of them are still very successful because ऊंची आवाज सब सुनते हैं, but then
Hmm.
the culture within the organization is now different. Why? Because there's enough research to, and because one of the things which has changed now, the research is much faster, right? And the
Yeah.
feedback is there on an instant. That that competition had only made organization worse ultimately. In the longer run, organizations which have a much more empathetic, collaborative culture succeeds a lot. And leaders who are ready to listen, who have that service mindset, who have that servant mindset, who have that, who are visionary though, right? And but
Hmm.
hugely empathetic are much more successful. So that's the change, and that change as far as teams are concerned, I hardly see an organization which now pays for having a brutal competition. Now everyone is for that collaboration, and then why? Because imagine the the digital world, and then you're trying to compete with each other and trying to elbow you out. Our language we work वैसी थी, elbowing each other, right? And आज के in a digital world, try elbowing somebody else out. It's just a question of the button on the right corner is is there. Leave. Simple. So people will
Hmm.
walk out. That's perfectly fine.
and then there will be nothing holding them back.
या
So,
सो एक तो ये था मगर दूसरा सवाल आपका कुछ बड़ा था एक तो आपने इसका जिक्र किया था was another thing you were saying and then I think I missed my train of thought क्या था सवाल इसके अलावा भी कुछ था या यही था
Um, no, I think it was more like on collaboration and competition ka jo difference hai. It was that's what I wanted to talk about.
या
Just to sort of move towards the conclusion of this session, uh, जो HR में key trends हैं, something that leaders should watch out for, especially in Pakistan. So, for example, जैसे analytics है, हम data को कलेक्ट ही नहीं करते डेटा को इस्तेमाल करना तो थोड़ी सी दूर की बात है सो डेटा यूजिंग डेटा फॉर डिसीजन मेकिंग देन there's a focus on like you mentioned purpose led organizations के ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा focus है so what are the sort of trends that companies and leaders should be mindful of कि ये future में this is where uh, the world is going और ये हमें organizations को shape इस तरह करना है if we are to attract the best talent or the top talent.
there's two sides I look at it right something which has happened in last one in almost 13 months now is pandemic so whatever was the transformation which uh, digital gurus were talking about is now pushed forward. So, what does that mean? That means that office, as we know of as a pre-pandemic time, will no longer be there. We like it or
Mhm.
not. Even if we'll try, it will not be there, right? The way we looked at it. What does that mean? That means that virtual work, one of the biggest trend is blended and virtual workspace and working. What does that mean? That they now probably you don't even need employees working only for one organization. So effectively, gig economy.
Yeah.
uh, when you are not in the offices the way you used to be and the way you used to sit, which was very hierarchical, everything was designed like a pyramid. Now, pyramid is more of a like a mishmash of things. And so, what does that mean? Agile working that needs
Mm.
to will is the reality. Employees, younger people, are now much more in tune to their needs and they have options. So, what kind of employee experience you can give to them, right? And with all that, वो जो लफ्ज था ना कि care, taking care of the people, that because अगर आप purpose the whole direction is a purpose led organization की purpose क्या है हम exist क्यों करते हैं ESG क्या है environment sustainability की क्या बात है governance कैसी है हम किसके लिए कर रहे हैं all these questions are becoming important to people and since it's important to people organizations will have to redesign and HR will have to ensure that their systems are aligned. So the
Mm.
first thing we should look at it, they should pick their benefits and payroll booklet, and they should put it on the table and say, "Oh my God, these are too constraining because it talks about what not to do. Change it
Mm.
first." That's going to be the first place if you really want to align to the change. So these are the trends. And to keep up with the trends and do a good job, we have to let go of things. The green book or the red book or the policy booklet को हमें review करना पड़ेगा because whatever we used to do or the way we used to do will no longer be required. पहले तो आप बाहर निकलते थे, एक सेक्रेटरी की रिक्वायरमेंट थी बिकॉज आप अफसर थे, एंड देन देयर वाज अ कोऑर्डिनेटर ऑफ जो पूरी टीम का था, एंड देन देयर वर सपोर्ट फंक्शंस, एंड देन सडनली आई डोंट नो वेदर यू नीड इट इनसाइड. सो वी हैव ऑलरेडी टॉक्ड अबाउट द आउटसोर्सिंग वगैरह, वो तो हो ही रहा है, वो तो
Hmm.
बहुत फास्ट हो जाएगा. सो दीज ट्रेंड्स विच इज purpose led or driven organization, agility, employee experience, virtual or blended workplace, lots of global working, and so all that in the context of the world where climate crisis there and ESG is becoming important. So that's the change, and so we have to align it to that.
Perfect. So, आपके पास you have this vast pool of people that you can actually have contribute to your organization. वो आप उसको for a short term उसके लिए consult कर लो, for कोई specific assignment के लिए consult कर ले, या long term आपने hire करना है. But at the end, mission HR का वही आएगा that you have to know exactly how do you brand yourself as an employer, how is it that you're providing them that culture that they stick with you and they contribute in the best possible way to your organization. और वो बार बार उनको ये ना लग रहा हो कि I think that other organization might be more useful for me, या मैं यहाँ पे valued नहीं हूँ in this organization that I am at. So this is something that's a very important skill for a manager to have, to sort of ensure that the employees that they have, all of them feel valued. And that might, do you think that's like a particularly HR function, या वो sub managers का function है? I think that's sub managers का function, but
नहीं,
that's a culture that HR pushes.
बट उसका कल्चर को ड्राइव करने की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कौन लेगा? ठीक है, सो
Hmm.
आइडियली देखें, एवरी लीडर शुड बी एन एचआर पर्सन, एंड दैट्स द आइडियल सिचुएशन. ऐसा होता नहीं है, ठीक है. सो व्हाट आई वुड लाइक टू सी, आई वुड लाइक टू सी दैट और आस्क फॉर एचआर टू प्ले दैट रोल, ठीक है, जहां पे वो सबको कोलैबोरेट करा रहा हो और उनको एचआर की तरह सोचने पे मजबूर कर रहा हो, वो कल्चर का
Hmm.
हिस्सा होगा. और वो उसी वक्त होगा जब वो एचआर को अपनी गोद में नहीं रखेगा और कहेगा एचआर तो मेरा काम है, बिजनेस करना तुम्हारा काम है. एंड दैट्स सच ए फैलेसी. You are
Yes.
so right. Each person's role is to play HR, and my role as an HR head is to facilitate and ensure. I'm not just using the word here, facilitate, because earlier, जो model थे कि आपका काम facilitate करना, नहीं. I'm here to play my role to create those philosophical discussion and ensure each leader of mine or manager of my organization is thinking like a HR and creating that employer brand. If you create a culture, that becomes an employer brand. So
वो आपका
only
brand बन जाता है.
वो बनता है ना, आप just उसको thought through करके करते हैं, तो that's why we have a process, that's why we call employer brand. And उनका ख्याल रखें ताकि कहीं जाए ना. But let me take a step forward. The collaboration within the organizations के अलावा across the organization क्यों नहीं हो सकती? Not everybody competition. If we are saying that competition among managers is not good and the time is changing, it's time for collaboration, that competition outside. But then why are now, I'll give you an example. Telecom companies are talking about sharing their towers. Everybody, हर बंदों ने extra लगाए थे. आपने पैसा भी जाया किया, आपने रिसोर्सेज भी जाया किया, आपने फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व भी जाया किया. Why can't you share? Why can't you share
Yeah.
the freezer in a shop and reduce the carbon footprint? हर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आके अपना एक एफएमसीजी आके दुकान में एक फ्रीजर रखेगी, कब तक रखती रहेगी? We have to have other models. So what I'm trying to say, that role of that collaboration across the organization is also important now. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
Even for the talent. So if I got a bright HR person and I can use 50% of the time because that person is so smart, why can't another company use that and I'm perfectly fine with that? मैं atom bomb नहीं बना रहा, अगर वो अच्छी चीज ले
हाँ.
जाएगी. Knowledge is now no more. पहले तो knowledge को छुपाना was a success. Now knowledge is
Yeah.
out there. So let
हाँ,
it
अब
go.
आप जितना शेयर करेंगे उतने ज्यादा आप सीख रहे हैं, और there's
Absolutely.
so much more to
Why can't
learn.
I have resources working for two organizations?
Hmm.
or saying that, okay, you work 3 days for me and 2 days for my competitor because I can't pay for enough for you, and that's fine because you're so
Hmm.
expensive and you're so good. That's perfectly fine as well.
एंड वो बात है जो आप कह रहे थे कि जैसे ब्रांड्स हैं तो उनको अपनी विजिबिलिटी क्रिएट करनी होती है तो अपने फ्रीजर्स ला के रखें सो आई थिंक वन ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट ब्रांड्स शुड आल्सो अंडरस्टैंड इज कि दे शुड लेट एचआर टेक द लीड एंड ईच वन ऑफ देयर employees should be a living manifestation of what that organization stands for तो फिर आपको हर जगह अपना लोगो और वो लगाने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी because your employees work as your ambassadors everywhere they go
So what
so
you are saying is such a beautiful thing that purpose-led organization can't be just a slogan, and that's my fear. And
absolutely
it is about each person living that uh, purpose through their values day in day out, and
Hmm.
this will make a beautiful organization culture. This will create an amazing, attractive brand, and also this will create a beautiful world as well.
Yes. So I think we will stop with my questions here. If anyone in the audience has any question, please feel free to share, and then Kaur can answer for you. Um, or अगर नहीं है, then we can wrap up. We'll just wait a
मैं
few
आप लोगों को
more
कहता हूँ
seconds.
ना, कॉफी पी नहीं, पहला रोजा है, एनएनआई में जो है ना, इस वक्त तक 8-10 कप पीता होता हूँ, और इस वक्त तो हम कैसे 1 घंटा गुजरेगा, और मुझे एहसास हो रहा है कि 6 तो बज ही जाएंगे, क्यों हम तो, एंड देन यू सच ए great engaging facilitator of such sessions. So well done, and
Thank you. Like we had a like I said initially, every time that I have had a conversation with you, I've had so much to learn. I'm sure that was the case for our audience today as well. Or Ajbi, I had lots of things to learn, and I think I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope it was the same for everyone else. And since we don't have any questions, I think we were very clear in what we were talking about, so they don't have any questions.
and
Um,
Amna, thank you, and again.
There is one question I think Silvar is asking. Do you think HR will ever become a human-free function? Oh, that's a very interesting question, actually.
पॉसिबल है, फिर वो एचआर नहीं कहलाएगा. सो
हाँ, because
इट्स सो इंटरेस्टिंग. या
HR
या गो.
has like अभी तक हमें traditionally जो like what we've been fed is that HR has to have some component of a human or a person, right? So do you think technology will be able to ever replace that? जो एक individual इंसान लाता है?
ओके, देखिए, दिस इज frankly speaking more of your area, but let me say it, the speed of change is so fast. So the organizations as we know of now will not exist. Like, because the organizations we have right now 30, 40 years back never existed. So it's such a change. And then it's a quantum change which will happen. So will HR machines, kya, what Salman means is that will machines will be running organizations? Most part of it. However, the innovation, that wisdom, that decision making, that there's some part of being the spiritual side of this. I think machines cannot do that. So that
Hmm.
continue to be a role in the organization till the time there's innovation, spirituality, wisdom. Till the time there's this, sorry, need for decision making, there will be need for HR. We may call it a different function. We may call it
Hmm.
whatever tomorrow, chief inspiration officer or chief spiritual officer. But जब तक इंसान रहेगा, कोई ना कोई उनके लिए को का हाथ पकड़ने वाला भी रहेगा.
Hmm. That's, I think that makes a lot of sense. So, just to wrap things up, I think from Cover's conversation, जो initially हमेशा everyone has thought कि HR बड़ा boring function है, कोई skills नहीं चाहिए, and it's just like a support function, and it can't be the main leading function for an organization. And I think over the past years we've seen advancements, technology कितनी ज़्यादा हुई है, और social dynamics have changed. And now that we look at it, HR का function इतना critical हो गया है for organizations. The battle for talent is so intense. Then the sort of things you have to do to retain that talent, वो सब में इतना intense competition है among firms, among the services that you're trying to deliver, कि वो HR का importance diminish kahin se bhi nahi hua. I think it's increased. And so for everyone who is in HR, they should be very mindful of the developments that are happening. And as long as you can keep pace, so I think it's an absolutely exciting field to be in. And ye nahi hai ki HR ka future koi bahut bleak hai ya it's a boring field. Lots of exciting things are happening in the HR field. Shayad hame is waqt pata nahi chal raha, but if you sit down and explore, there is a lot of things that you can do even within HR. Um, and I hope, Cover, you agree with that. Um,
Absolutely. So when you talk of HR field is not just in big corporates. A lot of
mm,
HR is outside as one-man organization to lots of startups. HR field is, I know some of the people who have left, who spent their time in organizations as marketeers and commercial heads. They left and started HR startups. And so that's the opportunity. Okay,
mm.
so yeah, absolutely lovely.
Thank you everyone for joining, and I hope we were able to share some knowledge with you. And I'm sure we'll be happy to have covered again sometime when we have another topic to discuss. Yeah, if you have any feedback that you'd like to share with us, or tell us what is it that you want us to talk about in future, we'd be happy to accommodate for that. And thank you again for joining. Thank you, Cover, for joining. And पहली रोजे में इतना ज़्यादा आपने हमारे time निकाला. It was
And
absolutely wonderful having you here.
I
Thank
habit
you.
of last word to मेरा होता है इसलिए let me say thank you Amna, thank you Kamayi, giving me that opportunity Amna for doing a beautiful job of moderating this and exactly 60 minutes. That's how you have done that. So
Thank
absolutely,
you.
and thank you and humble that you have given us given me the opportunity to be here.
No, it's always a
Putting it
pleasure
out
hearing
there
from
on
you.
Facebook. Somebody will hear me out, and thank you.
Yes, we're going to be sharing the session on our YouTube channel as well. So in case people have missed it, they can always revert back to the recording there. So yeah, thank you. Tafis, everyone.